Facilitating and leading teams. Lesson 11. Planning to improve team effectiveness. Well, we're at the end of the course, but hopefully your journey towards higher level of team-based performance is just beginning. There's a lot of different directions that you can go from here. You can simply choose to go back to doing your job as you've done it in the past. Live with the same headaches day in and day out. Try to find some way to make it to the end of each day so you can go home and do what you really enjoy. You could choose to try out a few pieces of what we've covered here. Try to run your meetings a little more effectively. Measure and trend the effectiveness of certain meetings, or maybe eliminate a few redundant teams. I hope that you choose to take a more aggressive approach. I hope that you choose to see all work, including meetings of all types, as a process. If you can trust the approaches presented in this course enough to try them for a month or so, I'm very confident meeting effectiveness at a minimum will be improved. I'm also confident that if you give these approaches a disciplined try, even for just 1 or 2 months, you will discover some ways in which you can significantly reduce time waste and free up additional time for proactive process improvement. If you choose to apply these approaches for 3 to 4 months, I'll be very surprised if you don't make significant system changes that eliminate wasted time and boost team engagement levels. Keep in mind that you can choose to use these approaches personally, even if others at your site choose to ignore them, or if they just choose to use them from time to time. I've found that by practicing an inside-out approach, success will spread, both across the organization and to its higher-level work systems. If this happens, you and your organization will be well on the way towards measurable and sustainable process excellence across all areas of importance. Now, what will you invest? The worksheet on the facing page can be used to define your current level of work team support and the degree of possible investment increases you are willing to make. The first half of the worksheet asks you to define 5 key components of a formal project team infrastructure. The second half focuses on the 5 key support ratios that will help ensure that your project teams become more effective. By using this worksheet, you can translate a conceptual team infrastructure into hard costs. Completing the first 4 parts of the infrastructure section helps you estimate monthly team support people hours, which in turn can be translated into dollars. Just multiply the hours by an average cost per hour. The 5th piece of this section should be used as a check against the number of active teams figure you projected initially. In other words, you should not have more active team projects than you have teams, unless your teams are skilled at handling more than one project at a time, and I just don't recommend that except for a small percentage of groups. The number of active teams that you have is ultimately limited by the number of skilled team leaders that you have in your organization and the amount of time they have to dedicate to the project team effort. The second half of the worksheet is similar to the first half in the sense that completing it leads to people hour and dollar totals. This second set of data supplements the time actually spent in team meetings. This is the cost per support area that organizations tend to neglect the most. Management may feel that the cost of the extra team meetings itself is high enough. They cannot bear to spend even more money on supporting a process that has not even begun to show a potential payback. You may want to complete several worksheets from a future perspective to get a better idea of what possible options will cost and how much you think you can handle. An example spreadsheet follows this page in the workbook. The cost it returns are based on the information in this worksheet, and in particular, these 5 support ratios. By using a spreadsheet similar to this one, you can construct several what-if scenarios to compare against the output expectations that you will have of your project teams. It's this final comparison that should drive your investment decision. Be realistic in setting team expectations. Be realistic in defining how much time is available to support teams. Also, strongly consider the degree of support that will be required to achieve a certain project time to market. If you want your teams to go faster, you have to provide them more support typically. Start small, see what well-supported teams can do, and build on your infrastructure from there. Note that not all team support costs are defined on this worksheet. Recognition costs, for example, are not included, even though providing consistent and meaningful team recognition is critical for sustained team success. In the early stages of team development, $20 to $50 per year per team member is a reasonable recognition investment to plan on in terms of formal recognition, $20 to $50 a year per team member. Your goal should be to vary this value based on the success of your teams. As the teams save more money, a certain percentage of that savings should be invested in team recognition. And it doesn't have to be a lot, but it needs to be meaningful, it needs to be consistent, and it needs to be attached to the results the teams achieve. There are some additional graphics and example graphs in this course as well. They're intended to help you think about the various decisions that are part of setting up an effective team infrastructure and the relationship between project complexity, team output, and team support. Good luck in your efforts to make your teams more effective.